Okay, so I think we can start. You may choose to leave your webcam on or off, um, but it would be cool if you guys participate. Like, if you have any questions or if you have any inputs on the matter, you want to say something, you have a problem, some case. This is supposed to be eventually some kind of study group. So you like can share cases, and I'm having trouble with some kind of staging or something like that. And then hopefully somebody already treated a case just like mine, and we can help each other out. I think we can just like gain from having a strong and active group. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. Mm, I need from you guys to let me know if you guys can see my screen. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, for me.
Okay, thank you, Victor. Let me see if I can reach the screen. Okay, so today is supposed to be this webinar and the other webinars is supposed to be kind of like straight to the point and show you guys what is working and how I do it. Uh, to let you guys know, my name is Gabriel Baumeier. I'm from Brazil. I think the most important thing on my curriculum is just that I love orthodontics, and I really, really love in-house aligners, something that I've been working since 2018, and I think was, even though it was not a long time ago, it was much harder then because at least here in Brazil we had like very few people teaching about it, and it was kind of crazy to think that you could make your own aligners, that you could produce your own aligners, and now we see that it's so possible. And even though it's kind of like a taboo to talk about it, but even though it's not the most important, it's very profitable. Like, I don't know how it works from you guys, like how's the price where you guys live, but for instance, here in Brazil, Invisalign, it's really expensive. And it's not just expensive for the patient, but it's expensive for the dentist. So whenever we have to buy, because we kind of pay for the full price, and then we need to add our profit and then pass the price to the patient. And taking in consideration like the whole population here in Brazil, it's a very expensive treatment. So if you can make your own aligners, you can adjust the price. And there's so many patients in my practice that they wanted to treat with aligners, but they did not have the money to pay Invisalign, for example. And whenever I start making my own liners, I could offer this treatment for a bunch of people who was just waiting for the opportunity. So this was like, I think this was like the easy part, finding people who wants to treat without braces, if possible. And the second part was the hardest, was to see through the marketing that companies make, right? Like, oh no, if you don't use this attachment, it's not gonna work. Oh no, the aligner needs to be made out of this plastic, this exactly plastic or this exact material, or it won't work. And then whenever you start doing cases, you see that with a good planning and nice materials, you can do pretty much anything that you could do with a company. Uh, but we do have this learning curve that everybody needs to go through. Like the first case, your first case is not gonna look like your 50th case, for instance, or your 100th case. So we do need to choose well our cases, and we do need to respect the learning curve. Like, I'm not gonna take, oh, I never did ArchForm, I never did an in-house liner case before, and I'm gonna start with a class two, a full class two, that needs extraction and has this really severe crowding, because it's gonna go wrong, and then you're gonna be frustrated. You're gonna be, no, oh my God, I don't know what I was thinking, that I wanted to make my own liners. I need to go back to the company and stuff like that. So I again, I'm gonna say this a bunch of times, but my it's not even my job. My mission is to help you guys if possible. If you guys need anything that I can help, you guys can just like message me. I'm not I don't answer really quickly, but I always answer it. So if you have, oh my God, I wish I could uh, have some help with this case. What's your opinion? I promise I'm gonna be brutally honest with you guys. If like if I can help, I will help. If I think it's a case that's not supposed to be treated with aligners, for instance, I'm also gonna tell you guys. Uh, I don't think we can talk about expansion without talking about this subject. That's what is cases for orthopedics and cases for orthodontics. So I think it's gonna be like a polemic team for the next few months, because we have this new appliance from Invisalign coming out this year, and and we know that we already have, at least here in Brazil, we have uh, very different opinions from orthodontics and orthopedics. So when I talk about, okay, cool, my friend Sam just arrived. And my friend Sam arrived in the perfect time,
Thank
because
goodness.
he. What's up, Sam?
How you doing, Al? Nice to meet you.
Hey, nice to meet you too, my friend. I was just talking about how we need to have this comprehension about the difference between expansion using orthopedics and aligners. And again, today and other days, I have no intention of putting myself in a position to teach you guys about orthodontics, because that's definitely not the case. It's just like to guide you guys through the software. But this is this needs to, as an orthodontist talking to another orthodontist or a person who's going to do ortho on their patient, you need to understand that they're not the same. They don't have the same goals. I mentioned Sam because I know he has a ton of knowledge about airways and how you need to improve and how to improve. And people try to sell expansion like it's going to be skeletal expansion with aligners, and it's not. So just you guys need to understand that one does not substitute the other. Okay, just make clear. And this is
Absolutely.
gonna be recorded, so I need to make a statement about it.
No, no, I
And
appreciate
and I know you guys, I don't know if it's for you the same way it's for me here in Brazil, but we have pretty much two kind of people here that give lectures, and one kind is the clinical guy who's like, no, this is what I have always done, and it works for me, so it's gonna work for you. And then there's the other extreme part. It's the guy who reads a lot. He's probably a teacher somewhere, and he doesn't have his practice. And here we have it's called a pejorative uh, word, but they call this kind of people dry finger. They say like, oh, this guy never puts the hands on patient's mouth, and we need to walk right in the middle. We don't have to rely just on papers, because there is papers and papers. Like there's well written papers. There is better journals, but we need to be aware of what we have. And it's really cool because the literature about aligners are it's rising so fast and so much. And I think this helps us because you don't have to just walk blind. There's so many good articles that they just address exactly to your problem, to your pain with your patient. So this is something I'm gonna try to help you guys out, because I have this huge archive of articles. So you don't have to go look for them. I'll figure out something that I can like send, I don't know, like monthly articles so you guys can read about a team. You don't have to read, but if you want to, and you have some free time, let's say you were really into, I don't know, you're really into deep bites, and then we have this month where we're gonna talk about deep bites and stuff like that. I can send some articles, some cool articles about deep bites, and then you will have more knowledge about it, and we can discuss about it. Not like a nerdy group, but we can talk like, I tried this in my patient and it worked and stuff like that. I just really want, I I want to grow, and I need the help of people, other people to grow too, like to see points of view that I cannot. So it's not scientific evidence, Instagram posts, YouTube videos, blogs, and stuff like that. So just to make this clear, is that whenever you're looking into an article, uh, try to see which kind of article. You see, I used to hate reading articles, and then whenever I started liking it, I would just read the abstract. It was just like I read 3 articles a day. It was just the abstract, and in the abstract, I probably just went from title to conclusion. And that's it. And then later on, I started liking to read uh, the whole art, no, not the whole article, but the whole conclusion part. Now, my favorite part is the discussion, because the discussion kind of looks like a gossip section, because they just talk like, no, because somebody did this, but their study is wrong because they didn't take this in consideration, and somebody else said this. And so I think it's important to read articles, but if you're really looking into the state of the art, you need to go for the top of the pyramid, the pyramid. That's systematic reviews and meta-analysis. Okay. And I just separated some, I just gathered some articles here that I think it's I would say like not the coolest, but the most aligned with I have seen on my practice. about expansions, and I just made a really easy to read here. So I'm just gonna read it for you guys. This was this one was to evaluate the accuracy of the treatment with Invisalign, and to check how much expansion can I make using clear aligners. So was 30 patients measured in 13 points, 13 cross-sectional parameters, and also that's really important, and it is an issue whenever you're expanding a lot. It's the occlusal contacts. So the effectiveness of achieving planning cross-cutting objectives was 45%. To be honest, in a mean calculation, everything that you do on most of the thing you do with clear liners, you can achieve half. Like not all, but if you put all kinds of movements, it's about that. So whenever I have to plan a case or I have to talk to a patient about how it gonna looks like, I just tell them, for instance, I show them the setup, and in the setup, whenever I go to the last stage, it's looking beautiful. But I tell him it's not gonna look like that because this is the goal and this is how the liner gonna looks like. If your teeth are gonna be in this position, it depends on only two things. One, uh, your biological setup, né? How your body is gonna answer to that. But the second and most important and most frustrating thing about aligners depends on how well you're gonna use the aligner. For instance, I give lectures, and I can safely say that the cases that I take to a congress or to a meeting or whatever are not the cases that I plan it the best, because I like to think I plan all my cases with heart and I give it my all. But the cases that I can say that are my best cases are 100% my best patients. It's the patient that use it more. So, for instance, let's say Ken Jojima. He's for me is my aligner idol. Uh, I I usually joke like which case Ken Jojima cannot treat. It's the case that the patient do not use the liner because it's not gonna. You see, you're like you can make the best planning, you can use the best software or the best material, but if the patient do not put in his mouth, it's not gonna work. Okay, and the last part of this article: for every 100 simulated occlusal contacts, approximately 40 never materialize. About 60 ensure a clinical favorable contact pattern. What does this mean? It's not a theme about today, but there's this other article that says the following. Every uh, occlusal contact that's going to show in your planning on the posterior teeth, they gonna happen half of it. So every time it shows like this very strong contact in the posterior, just half is clinically shown on mouth. And that's true. That's like whenever you're finishing the case and you want to make like this really good settling of the posterior teeth, you need to exaggerate a little bit. And the second part of the article says, but however, whatever it shows on the anterior, it is going to happen. So if it shows that there is this strong contact on the anterior, it is going to happen on the patient's mouth. And this is the number one reason why we have uh, posterior open bites. Have you ever seen them whenever you go to Instagram and somebody's showing their case a before and after, or a before and now. uh, Sometimes shows this open bite. Some people sometimes says that, oh no, it's because the liner of because of the thickness of the liner is making this bite block effect and stuff. But it's not only that. Most of the time, this patient does not have overjack. He has this strong contact on the anterior that he did not have before, and now he has an open bite on the posterior tooth. So again, it's not a team here, but I like to finish my cases with no contact on the anterior. Besides, if it's not a case of open bite, I don't like to finish with contact on the anterior. Okay. This is a systematic review about clinical outcomes with of arch expansion, and they basically say that if it's easier to expand upper upper jaw, and whenever you start going from anterior to posterior, start getting harder. It's starting to get less predictable, and most of the papers shows that whenever you do an expansion, whenever you plan an expansion, you most of orthos plan a bodily expansion, but it's not gonna happen bodily. It's gonna happen like I'm gonna like just fake some numbers, but it's gonna be like 80% here in the coronal part of the tooth. In the cervical part, in the gingival part, it's gonna be like 60. So this is one of the reasons why I don't use elastics for cross bites, because uh, I people usually use elastics to help the tooth to make this movement, but you don't really need help because aligner do this really nice, and it's just gonna um how do I say, it's gonna raise the effect that you don't want. That's the over positive torque that's going to happen. This article uh, takes 30 patients, and it shows exactly what I just said, that the percentage. Let me see. Okay, what are the limit of expansion? You see, it depends of the patient. How can I say this? I'm gonna talk about this later, but I'm gonna give this practical answer, but needs to be seen case by case. On my cases, I like to do in the most like the biggest number that I like to expand a single tooth is 3 millimeters, but most of the time I go up to 2.5. What if I did this on my setup and it still crossed? No problem. I'm gonna give those aligners to my patient. He's gonna use those aligners, and later on, I'm gonna rescan the patient, and then I can do more. But what is the limit? Pretty much I'm not gonna say everything, but what sets the limits for the case is basically three things, on my opinion: gingiva, gums, bone, and how is the habits of the patient. For example, let's say, and Sam, please, if I say something that's not true, or you can help me out, please feel free. But
Oh, okay.
let's say a patient who is a mouth breather, and he has this crossbite, or he has this narrow arch, and you make the ortho treatment on him, And while he is on treatment, or let's say after he's done with the treatment, he does not seek help from uh, uh, I don't know how is the word in English, but
Well,
in
yeah, that's
Portuguese,
very common. It's very common.
yeah.
So if he doesn't follow through with an ENT surgeon to, correct the nasal, passages. Now, there's a big movement of rapid palatal expansion to do that. I'm not a fan at all, because it doesn't fix the valve anyway. They still need surgery. So I would like to say that it might be more appropriate to think about it as tongue space. So the U shape of that arch and how it, the tongue gets parked in that garage. So when I'm looking at cases now, it's about trying to create tongue space because often these discrepancies and dysfunctions in oral facial growth are coming from like an inability of the tongue, whether it's a tongue tie or a dysfunction of swallowing. And so working with a myofunctional therapist, they rarely follow through with that too. So I get signage ahead of time. With a plan, they can choose not to do it, and the chances their relapse will happen, But yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Point exactly. The chance that you see, that's why I like Sam. One, he's smart. Two, he looks like an actor. I don't know if you guys saw his picture, and
Please,
he understand
dude.
about this thing. But you will have like the chance of relapse is huge. So it's you really need to take in consideration those limits. Okay, so it's not common here in Brazil to ask for CBCT for every case, but I'm gonna show some key points that I could be mistaken, but some key points that I take in consideration whenever I see a case that I say, "Wow, this is a favorable, a positive case, a case that is supposed to have success." And what is a case that I probably ortho would not be the only or the first solution or the first choice. Thank you, Sam. This article is really really cool, and after I saw this article I started doing, I don't know why this is okay, cool. uh this article shows kind of like study if you need or not attachments whenever you're doing expansion, if improves the efficiency, and if you alternate tooth movements, if it makes more predictable. And I don't know if you guys know how to do it, but I'm gonna show you guys how to stage this on ArchForm in a very, very easy way. And whenever you learn how to stage this, any other staging patterns you want to do for intrusion or whatever, it makes so much easier. And well, this is our gossip. I don't know if I'm allowed to say or not, but we're supposed to have the staging bars pretty soon, and it's gonna help us a lot too. Another really cool thing about this article that I always use on my cases is this last part, torque compensation. Torque compensation could improve torque control. Torque per millimeter of the first premolar decreased by 0.26 degrees per millimeter. What do? I took this course with Diego Pedro and Ivan Malagon. I think like they're like big names on the Aligners League, and I'm gonna show you guys later on. But they have this staging protocol for one, no, each 0.25 millimeters that you expand your tooth. You add 1 degree of lingual torque. Why? Because it's supposed to work as a counter torque. I don't know if this makes sense for you guys. for me just speaking with my Brazilian accent, but I'm gonna show you guys a picture here that gonna make more sense. I'm sorry, this is forgot to translate this. This is tipping, rotation of incisors, rotation of round tooth, translation, intrusion of the anterior, intrusion of the posterior, extrusion of the anterior, extrusion of the posterior, root movements, and this is the mean accuracy of aligners. So whenever you plan something, just if you, I swear, if you expect half to happen, you're not gonna be frustrated, and you're gonna have much. I could say you could have much more control in your case. But I'll make this parenthesis a note. It's not because it's supposed to happen half of it that you're gonna make the double of the amount. You're gonna overcorrect by twice, because that's not how it works. Okay, just make sure. But let's say I have, for instance, it's gonna be good. Let's say I have a posterior crossbite and I take ArchForm or I take any other software, and I plan to uncross this bite. If all goes well, this is what happens in my practice. So again, it's kind of like a bar talk. if if all goes well, whenever the patient comes out after using this first set of aligners, he's gonna have edge to edge bite. So it was cross. I plan to uncross, but whenever he comes out, it's edge to edge. And then in the next set of liners, if all goes well, he's gonna uncross. And then later on, I'm probably gonna have the need to use some aligners to finish the settling, because almost all cases where you're uncrossing the crossbite, you get this kind of open bite on the posterior, because the lingual cusp is, since the tooth proclined, the cusp kind of like extruded, and now it has this premature touch there that's gonna look like, and it is, but it's gonna look like a posterior open bite. So to finish well a case, it takes some time. You see, I don't really believe. I'm not skeptical, but I don't believe on Instagram posts. Even though I make Instagram posts, I don't believe it, because like they can post whatever they want. They can post like this picture of let's say a before and after, and they can write, oh no, I did this with only two aligners, no refinements or whatever, and you never know the truth. And I have this trust issues, because I met a lot of people who lied about this case, that I know what happened, and I saw the person just like, yeah, and I mean big names, like posting uh as it was easy, and it's not. Ortho is not easy. Ortho is a kind of work that really takes time for it to finish well a case. When I'm not old, but when I was younger, I used to think that a good ortho, like the best, what the best ortho does. I thought that the best ortho would finish case really fast. That was my my goal. Oh, I need to be the guy who finished it fast. And later on, whenever I took master's degree and went to other places to learn, I learned that the best ortho is the guy who has uh the most stability in the case. The case who relapse the minimum amount, you know? And I see that people who really bend whatever, like whatever they believe into the marketing, like the strong marketing of companies. And again, I'm here to tell you guys what I believe and what I've been doing and truly to learn from you guys, and we share experience, and we all just we all together just on the top doing the best for our patients. Those are some of the biological limit indications that I take in consideration. Again, this is just a point of view. I'm not saying you guys, no, from now on, you guys have to do this. Nope. I'm just showing you guys what I take in consideration. First one, amount of expansion needed. You need to see if ortho alone is the answer for your patient. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes he needs to see a doctor of the nose. I don't know how you guys call it. In Portuguese. It's a really hard words. Otorrino laringologista. I have trouble spelling for so you guys know. And so if I see that's a case that uh let's say it's a skeletal problem, I need to address this to my patient. I need to be 100% clear. Something that I learned in my practice is I need to be the realest possible with him. Even if I see some tooth movement that's not gonna happen, and I tell him beforehand, I'm an even better orthodontist for him. I say, we have this tooth that has 40 degrees of rotation, and man, I don't know if this is gonna work. If it does not work, the patient goes, "Wow, you're really good. You really, you really said it was not gonna work. It did not." Later on, I need to make it work, but you need to promise less and deliver more. We have a saying here. I don't know if it's the same saying in other language, but it's this is really good. Everything that is said before, it's an explanation. And everything that is said after, it's an excuse. So if you address the problems before, it's an explanation. If you later on the patient's not happy, or he had a relapse, or he had anything, and you go and oh no, but you don't, you're a mouth breather, whatever. It's an excuse because it's like, well, why didn't you tell me whenever I got here? Whenever you took the questions, I don't know how you guys call it, anamnesis, I don't know if that's the same word, but you need to align what you can deliver with the patient's expectation and taking in consideration what's the best for him there. Let's say the best for him there, it's not ortho with aligners, but he really insists on doing, and he knows it's not going to be the best treatment. Make him or her sign. Okay, make her sign. I told my patient this is not the best treatment, but he insisted, and make him sign. I don't know how the patients are in your country, but here in Brazil, man, they're a handful. Okay. Other thing, patient's age. Again, that's my opinion. I'm not a big fan of aligners on kids. I don't like to use on children. I just feel that the permanent tooth, I don't know, they just looks like they don't, it doesn't happen natural. So the only cases that I do use aligners on children, and again, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, it's just how I like to work. But the only case are social problems. Let's say they have this diastema and the central incisors, and people are making fun of them. Then I go there quick and just something like 3 months, and I get out of there. I prefer um, to use aligners on patients that are teenagers and up. Okay. Why I'm saying that? Because sometimes you need to see what you should do, or if you want to use braces or whatever. The third is the posterior teeth have negative torque. If you see that the posterior teeth have negative torque, that's really good for expansion. Like this is a case where you're definitely gonna have success. So try to find cases when you need to expand. If they have those negative torque, this is very positive for you and for the result you're looking for. Fourth is the terminal teeth is more buccally displaced than the rest. This helps a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot, because it works as anchorage and it makes so much easier. The fifth one is the Walla Ridge is easily visible. If you don't remember what's the Walla Ridge, I'm going to show you in the next slide, but it also helps to show you if you have bone to expand or not, because it's really important. You need to have room. You need to have a place where this tooth can move without making an heterogenic uh, movement. And then again, the problem should be, it's not always, but should be more dental alveolar, needs to be more teeth than bone. Okay. Sometimes, or most of the time, patient is an adult and the problem technically is already skeletal, but taking this in consideration, you're probably gonna have, uh, I would like to think, some success in your cases. So this case, it has everything. It has the lingually the negative torque, so you can easily see the buccal face of the tooth. It has the terminal teeth more buccally displaced, and this also sets the kind of the limit where you can expand this tooth, this teeth. And the Waller ridge is this one. Is whenever you can see the gum and the bone. Sometimes you cannot see, and this is kind of an issue because uh, it's we don't have an answer like an exact answer which I could just like tell you guys and you have to believe me. It's one of those subjects that's really polemic. It's like, oh, does orthodontic movement expansion creates bone and stuff like that. I'm not gonna get into this, but it would be better. It would be, I would say, safer if you had bone, a lot of bone. Okay, so this case is a positive case, a case that is you look at this case and say, oh, this case the patient could benefit from expansion. So this is a case where I almost all my case I try to overcompensate a little bit, and I make appointments the first appointment after I say the case is done is 3 months, and then he needs to come every 6 months, and we always take scans. Scans are the best, like art scans, so I can see, and then I overlay them so I can understand what is happening, or what did I miss out, or what should I have done. And this is something funny about excellence. Like I used to think that excellence, like you to be excellent at something. I thought it was kind of like a destination. Like I wish I could get there sometime. Someday I want to be in the excellence spot. But now I understand that there's no such thing as excellent as a spot. Excellence is the name of the journey. So it doesn't matter how old you are, you always gonna have like stuff to learn and something to get better, and I'm on the journey as you guys are on the journey. And again, I think if we go together, we can get there faster. So this is the case. And I use a very objective reference is that I need to see the second premolar on smiles. Yeah, wow. Here in Brazil, I think here in Brazil is one of the most, check this out, most unfair patients in the world because they don't want to pay anything. They want to pay very little for the treatment. They didn't want like the best results. So this is a case where the patient and I, we were not happy because this premolar needed to show more. And it's not a light problem because I use studio light. So this is an ortho problem. It should have been more buckley displaced. But here in Brazil, wow, people are like, they don't want to pay nothing for treatments. I would say that the not in my practice, but the mean price of an ortho treatment here in Brazil is, I would say that is around, I would say 500 to $1,000. It's like what more, I would not say $1,000 for everybody, but 500 for sure. I would say like 70 to 80% of the orthos here in Brazil charge that for a whole treatment. It's crazy, and it's just not worth it. Like how are you gonna deliver? How are you gonna go there, show up, and like do your best for so little? It's crazy. And we did had some good results with this case, and I did learn a lot, and especially with the mistakes. I know whenever things go right, it's really cool. But whenever things go wrong, you can learn much more. And you guys do not have to worry to take uh print screenshots or whatever, because this is my gift to you. The most today, I have a son. I just had a son. He has he completed yesterday 9 months. He's like this little guy. He's really cool. And I just realized it, that the most important thing you have in life is time. And I really appreciate you guys are being here. And for you that's watching this sometime from now on YouTube or whatever, I appreciate your time too. And I really want to make the most for you on this. So this is why I will take the time to make an ebook with the most important things here, so you can like check out later if you want to. And I will send to you guys this PDF with all those slides and stuff like that. Okay, not a problem. Hey Sam, are you going to be at the AEO this year?
No, I will not.
Ah, dude. Okay. So what is the protocol? What is the staging protocol? So this protocol, even though it is in some articles, I learned it from Ivan Malagon and Diego Pedro. And what it says is you have to contract a little bit the second molars, the first molars, you're gonna make a measure out because it is going to avoid collision. We're going to see this on ArchForm in a little bit. And I like, as I said before, I like to make a maximum of 2.5 expansion per phase, or per set of aligners. But you have to see each patient as an individual. So this is what it's going to look like. I'm going to go back and forth so you guys can see. And something else you need to remember, um, and I think address something of what Sam said, is that whenever you expand, just and you can, I don't know if like all ortho school does that, but here's like it's cliche where the ortho teacher is showing us how does a an expansion works on the mouth, and then he takes this thread and he makes the shape of an U shape, and then he grabs the both end of the thread and he expands. And whenever he expands, you can see the end point, like where the anterior teeth would be, they're going back. So kind of like this. See how the incisors, they just like move a little bit back. So this is why it's really important for you to have overjack, or to have, as Sam said, space for the tongue, but to make this movement. So if you have, let's say, crowding, you don't have to kind of worry about that, because the space that's created here is gonna be used by the crowding. But if you don't have space, you need to figure out how you're gonna make this all get together. So this is what I was trying to explain to you guys. What I do, it's basically this. For each 0.25 of expansion, I add 1 degree of lingual torque, of negative torque, uh, to work exclusively as a counter torque. Because on the mouth, even though I plan this bodily movement, what is going to happen is going to happen a positive torque that I did not plan to be there. But let's say if it's a case like this one, where the patient has already a negative torque, I'm gonna benefit from this positive torque. I don't know if this made sense to you guys. And what I said about the arch, if it's crowded and you did made an expansion that was really cool, you're gonna use these remaining spaces and the space that were created to solve the crowded as much as you can. If it's not crowded, you need to plan an overjet, and then uh, goes with your philosophy, like whatever the way you treat, because we do have different ways to plan cases. For instance, Sam is a guy who's concerned with the tongue, because and that's why they say that ignorance is a blessing. And this is so freaking true, because if some people don't even remember a patient has a tongue, so they don't have to worry about it. So Sam probably studied, and he knows all the problems you may have, or in the good part, all the solutions you may have whenever you have the understanding of this matter. So you guys are gonna still work the way you guys do, or seek help. Okay. And there's this movie. It's with Will Smith. It's called. Do you guys remember the name? Is a movie that he has like this dog, and there's like zombies and stuff. Uh, okay, but all those apocalyptic movies, always there's like the scientist who's like recording. He's like, day 32. We still did not find the cure for the virus and stuff like this. What I'm doing, it's kind of like this. I'm planning, I'm taking notes, and then I'm seeing what happens, and I'm trying to work with that. Some articles show that whatever I plan with expansion, I'm gonna have 60. Oh, that's crazy. I'm gonna have 65% of correction. And in this case, I plan 2 millimeters of expansion. And what I do is like this really simple and not scientific at all uh, math that I do like this. I see how much I planned, give the liners to my patient, use all the liners that were planned to help him. And whenever he's done with the liner and we're going to refinement, I take a new scan, I throw the case back to ArchForm and I click on the tooth and move as much as I need to correct. And I see what was the amount needed in the first place and what was the amount needed in the second time. And then I just make a rule of thirds and see how much did I actually correct it. So I add something, some important notes that may or may not be important to me later on. For instance, here I made an expansion and I also added some positive torque. And my premolar, my bicuspid, you guys call it bicuspid attachment fell off. And then after I gave the second set of liners, I did the same thing. And so the second set of aligners, I planted 0.91 millimeters. And I gave the aligners. Whenever I went to the third set, I needed 0.59. And whenever I did the rule of thirds, it was 65% of correction. So what does this give to me? Of course, uh, the bigger the sample, the more true that is the what you're seeing. But I can understand that whatever I plan to do with my expansion cases, I can expect 65% of correction. And this is good because I don't get frustrated anymore. Because I could be like a half empty glass kind of guy, and I would be like, oh my God, this is a horrible appliance. Well, I'm playing and it's not happening when I'm playing. But if I know that 65% is going to happen, it's so much easier for me like to move on with my life and like to even like give some dates, set some dates with and some goals with my patient. The other stuff that you need to figure out is this one, that you need to understand that whenever you're expanding, you are going to have a buccal positive torque. And with this buccal positive torque, you're going to have a premature occlusal contact in the lingual cuspid. And this is going to look like a posterior open bite. I don't know if it is open bite because it does have contacts, but you need to have this in mind. Other thing you need to have in mind that it's not here, but I just remember, is that whenever you have a crossbite, not whenever, but most times when you have a crossbite, a posterior crossbite, the buccal cuspid of the molars gonna be worn off. And even though you uncross, it's not gonna look okay. So you have to reconstruct those cuspids. The case is gonna look better, and then you just need to uh, keep evaluating to see if the composite's not gonna break and stuff like that. This is problem for this is another kind of problem, but it's really cool to have this in mind. I think now, okay, this is a case where what I'm saying happened. You see, you see how it is kind of uncrossed, but it is open. The bite's open. It's because here it's really heavy, like it's really heavy contact. And what some people do, and I don't know if it's right or not, but when I mean I don't know, it's like I don't have a well strong opinion on the matter. But if you have a crossbite and this bite's really crossed, you never had the the cuspid, like the lingual cuspid. You did not have the natural worn off that should have. So some people overcompensate doing a supernatural supernatural um um worn of the cuspid. So I don't know how you guys do the settling of the tooth, but you can use elastics, you can do a bunch of stuff. I bought a book from Ken Jojima and Ravinanda, I think it was last year, the last book they printed. And in some part of the book, it said something like this. I swear, that's not the exactly words, but this is what I understood from the passage. As you can see, in the end of the case, it kind of like showed what is your protocol for placing attachments in expansion cases. My friend, I will show you on ArchForm which attachments I like to use. And later on, I can share with you guys uh, my JSON file of auto attachments. You can like change it whichever attachments you don't like it there, but I have this auto attachments file there that you just click it and you should put there, and then you can like, oh, Gabriel, I don't like this. You don't even have to tell me if you don't like, just change it there. But it's much easier to change over mine because mine has already the on the two where it's supposed to go. Okay, coming back from the book, the case it's finishing kind of like this. I think it's a little bit worse than this. Like the premolar is not well settled too, and it says something like this. Say, even though the case doesn't have a good selling in the posterior, we don't have to worry about. I swear, this was kind of like reading there. You don't have to worry because in 6 months or so, the natural intercuspidation will happen. And at first, and well, I kind of still think that's messed up. That did not have like a final picture. But at first I thought, this is this is a scheme. Where's the picture? But now that I'm taking scans of my patients immediately after they finish the ortho, and sometime after they finish the ortho, I see that the occlusal contact sometimes it doesn't have on a tooth right here and doesn't have on a tooth right here. Whenever he comes to the office 6 months later, it's it's all lighting up. Like all the posterior are much better. So he is right, but I don't agree that did not have a picture because it is a book. In a book, you expect the person to bring a well documented case, right? So this is my insights for you guys. Now we're going to go to the software, my friends. If you have any questions and considerations, please, while I had the case. Uh, case expansion. So let me see where the case is. Pre-draw. Opa, sorry. File. Mm, lower jaw. It's gonna be a bunch of new stuff. I don't know if I'm allowed to say, but we're gonna have like a bunch of cool stuff coming up on the next version of the software. This is the 2.4.0 that you guys already have. No, that's not the case. Sorry. Hum, Não tá, já tá aqui. Faço nada. Use this. Okay. This is something I really like about ArchForm. It's how easy to prepare models. I tried pretty much all other softwares. Um, this is by far the easiest one to. One quick tip is to make your brush bigger, so much easier. And always use shift after you just press shift. Then you're gonna make the marking smoother. You don't have to change it there. Cool. You know, most of people do not spend time on this, but the most important part of uh, preparing your model is the next part. Is when you have to do the tooth axis. Like people just skip it, and if they wanna mess around with this, they just do it later. But especially for using the auto attachment feature, you really have to spend some time here because it takes in consideration whatever you approve it here. So if you approve it, this crazy axis here on this part, whenever you use the auto attachment, the attachment is going to be like some crazy spot. For instance, just this is actually pretty good. But one thing that's really important is if the if this blue guy is coming out kind of in the middle of the tooth. Oh, this is horrible. I'm just gonna move forward so I don't take much time of you guys. One tool that I'm really enjoying to use, I really like to use. I'm gonna tell you one tool that I'm not a big fan right now, but I will be later on, but not right now. Is the auto alignment tool. I'm not a big fan. Okay, I like to do tooth by tooth, but something that I'm using a lot is this one. If you have a classical uh, graduation, I don't know if that's a word, but for instance, on the fixed appliance, people like to individualize the arches. If you really like to do that and you miss this on planning cases with aligners, you can do this using this tool that people do not use. I use a lot now because it makes my arch forms looks better. For instance, I press curve, and then that's not it was not created to use the way I'm using, but this is how I like to use. I click on the arch, I pull it down a little bit so I can see, and then I use this tool as a template. so I know where the tooth needs to be uh, put it in order to look the way I want. Okay, so now I'm gonna make, you see, this is what I'm talking about. Div to F, tooth axis. Bottom ones are. So this is something cool because you could change the axis in that stage that I showed you guys, or you can do it later on, like I'm doing here. Okay. Okay. You can do two ways, or you can do tooth by tooth, or you can multi-select. Let's say I want to do a max of 2 millimeters of expansion. I just put number 2 here and I press buccal. But see that whenever I did that, always when you make an expansion, is gonna have a collision here on the distal part of the molar, uh, especially if you have a little bit rotated. So I pretty much always have to do a little bit of distalization, and something that's it's kind of messed up, but it's an issue that's gonna be fixed later on, is those spikes that shows here, but in the mouth it does not have. Because if I let's say if I do not make this and start touching that, it would show as a collision, but we know that's not. Okay. So as I said before, I try to use the note that it has 6 millimeters of collision. And if I make a mesial out, see how it goes down? This is the importance of you doing mesial outs. I'm probably gonna try to see if in the next webinar or just randomly I put just for information purpose, what is my workflow step by step. I'm not making on this case, I'm just trying to show you guys to illustrate on the software what I told you guys about the expansion. See how whenever you expand, you create space. The template is really good, especially for anterior. So you can make like this cool arch. Do you clinically do IPR in posterior intentionally in order to have swift expansion? I'm gonna be really really honest with you. I personally do not like posterior IPR. And the main reason is because I am bad at doing IPR on the posterior. I think it's difficult. I think it's hard to do the IPR and still keep a good interproximal contact. What it happens most of the time is whenever you do a class 2 restoration, I don't know if that's the same kind of restoration that here in Brazil, but whenever you do a posterior mesial restoration, we always make really tight with the other tooth, and the patient complains that he cannot eat a sloppy Joe, or he cannot eat a meat because the meat's gonna be between tooth. And this happens because the more anterior the teeth is, the most close to the incisal edge is the contact point. More anterior is, more close to the incisal edge. And the more posterior the tooth is, more close to the gingival margin is the contact. And I don't even have big hands, but but whenever I'm trying to do IPR on the posterior teeth, they do not look good. And since I never did posterior IPR on my fixed appliances, I'm not using on the aligner. So Gabriel, not a big fan of it. But I know guys who do really well. Actually, Antonio, he even posted step by step doing posterior IPR that was really cool. So I don't like to do. I have some rules of IPR. For instance, I don't do on kids. If you have less than 16 years old or 14 years old, I'm not a big fan of IPR. I don't do IPR because I didn't do it with braces. So I try to avoid IPRs on most cases. And if I do, my IPR is 0.4 per set of aligners, and in the most 0.6 on the whole treatment. So I have 0.6 to distribute along the treatment. For instance, I can do 0.2 on the first set of liners, and I have more 0.4, or I have 0.2 on the other set of liners. But it's really hard for me to pass 0.6. I would only do more than 0.6 if it was a case of biprotrusion that I'm not doing extraction and I have this much of enamel, because biprotrusion cases, they usually have this really wide teeth. So note that, okay, this is a really good answer that you made, because I'm gonna show you guys something that's really important, and it is a mistake that a bunch of friends of mine they make. It's called, and I think I posted about it on the Facebook group, but it's called transitory IPR. I learned this with this very brilliant guy called Renato Parsecchia. Okay, note that in this case, I'm only going to do the upper arch so you guys can see, but note that in this case, I do not have any IPR going on. Okay, it's not finished. I just want to show you guys. No IPR, right? So, no IPR, obviously. In the initial stage, no IPR. In the 15th stage, no IPR. IPR only has two rules. The first one is, only two rules. The first one is, if you do not have any collisions in your last aligner, attention, if you do not have any collisions on your last aligner, you cannot have collisions in any other stage, because collision indicates that one tooth is entering another. And it will not happen an adaptation of that, because it's not like braces where the tooth can actually freely move. It's encapsulated on the aligner. So what you have to do is if it shows up any um collision here, you need to remove it, okay? And the second rule is, if there is IPR on the last stage, it cannot have a greater value of collision in other stage. So for instance, let's say here it has 0.2. It cannot have on the aligner number 4, 0.4, because it's bigger. I don't know if this makes sense to you guys, but that's the only two. And one way to solve this really fast is like this. First, you check if there is, you see, this cannot happen. This cannot happen. It's only this. One easy way to solve this is whenever it shows, you just create a new goal and you take off. You can do this and will take some time because you need to go step by step, or you can do this. You can go 5, 10, 15, or 20, whatever the number of liners you have. You go on 5, create a new step, and you take off, go back here, see if it's showing. If it is showing, you go there and you add a little space. Oh, it's going to take more aligners. Well, it's more staging. More staging means hopefully more predictable, but it also means more aligners. Okay. So now it does not have any collision here. So you can take the collisions. If it show more collisions, I would just do the same. So let's say this case doesn't have collision. Okay. Now what I want to show you guys, and there's only two things that I need to show you, and then we're done. You guys are free to enjoy your Saturday. The first thing is, how do I stage this? Because you see, all those teeth are moving together and it looks pretty on the software, but it's not predictable. Like if it's a lot of teeth moving the same, like the same time, it's not predictable. So what I can do is choose two teeth to move and then another two. I'm just gonna go to settings here, and I can talk about that later too. But I'm gonna put 4.25. What you can do is, uh, I'm gonna go here on 5, and I'm gonna create a new stage. And in the first 5 aligners, I don't want this, and this to move. So I just go here and I zero. Or I can zero, or I can just like reset movement. And I go here and I reset movement. And I go here and I reset movement. And I go here and I reset movement. And then I can go and keep doing this. I can like alternate in here. Let's say I want this, and this is really cool. It's a feature that's on ArchForm that not a lot of people is using, is you can copy movements. For instance, here on the first 4, this molar is moving, and technically he stops here. I can press Control C, and I go here, and I press Control V, and now he stops so the other tooth can go. And I do the same here for this premolar. Control C, go here and Control V. Now, this is what is happening on this side. Then I do the same thing here on 12. I since this one's gonna be on the same place, I'm gonna go Control V here. This one's gonna be in the same place. I go Control V here. Check this out. This is one way to do it. You can like stage. Uh, I personally don't like to do a little bit of you, a little bit of you, a little bit of you, a little bit of you. I like to do half of you, the other half of you. So how I would do this? I would delete everything. It would take some aligners. So it took 12 to look like this. It would take me uh, 24. I would come here and I would do the same. Here actually. Reset and reset. See how it's much easier? Now the treatment would look like this. And this is the same thing you would do for instance, for fixing a deep bite. It's not the thing, but you can hold it. Let's say I'm just gonna delete this lower go. I select all anterior. I just put them down. Let's say I wanted to do this. And then I go right in the middle. It's like 10th aligner. Insert a lower go. And then I reset the movement of the canines, for example. Now it should look like this. The anterior go first. And then, okay, never mind. Did it wrong. Sorry. Ah, okay. It's because it's okay. Now we're cooking. Okay. So if it's go here, I just come and I okay. Now it goes the interior and then on the canines. This is how you make a staging protocol, like a simple staging protocol. Okay. Now the last part that I want to show you guys is this. Here we made the expansion, but remember that I told you for each 0.25, you need to make 1 degree of torque. You just click on the tooth, see how much was done. So divided by 0.25 is 8. So I just come here and I press 8. Sorry, minus 8. Minus 8. And now it has a counter torque. It's because it's staged. That's why I look like it. We'll take the stage out so you guys can see better. Let me delete the lower movements because it's not there. Okay. And you do this to all, see this one would be 9 degrees, minus 9. The setup's not supposed to look pretty. This is something really important, it's really hard for us to get our minds on it, but it's not supposed to look pretty. Okay. So now, those last minutes, I will open for questions if you guys have some. How do I stop sharing? Was I sharing? Yeah. Okay, stop sharing. But are you guys still there?
Let me turn it. 1 second. So, will you share the your setup? Like, is it going to be a Dropbox thing or?
Oh, did you guys see the art form? I'm sorry, Sam. What do you
So
mean?
when you do your ebook, you said you have your existing preset,
Yeah, yeah,
ArchForm
yeah,
preset.
yeah. Oh, definitely.
How
Yeah.
do
I'm gonna share the ebook, and the ebook gonna have like some. I think I'm gonna make because I'm gonna make some ebooks, and one for each team. But I'm gonna leave some information uh on some information is gonna be on all of them of clinical preferences. For instance, I have this thing which I call minimum and maximum of speed per movement. For instance, let me share it.
wonderful.
Sure. Okay, here. Settings. Oh, sorry. Here. This is my this is my minimum. So every time I'm planning a case, this is the configuration that I start with. But I do not like to have a case which has more than 20 aligners. I'm not saying that every case I'm gonna fish with 20 aligners. Probably most of the case I'm not gonna fish with 20 aligners, but it does not make sense for me to use a system called in-house aligners where I can produce my case or I can easily ask for a white label company to produce my cases, and I give the patient like 60 aligners where I see that in the number 40 it's not fitting well. No, no, let's do a bootstrap, let's do stuff like no, let's rescan and do more aligners. So I like to deliver for my patients 15 or in the max 20 aligners. I start planning with this speed and see how much aligners is gonna make. Let's say if I plan with this speed and it goes up to 30 aligners, then I find out which is the key movement, like the movement that is consuming more aligners, and I go up to the maximum speed on
Nice.
this movement. That would
That's
be
a
this
great
one.
idea.
Yeah, no, it works so well. Max speed, 2 degrees, 2 and 2. So I always start with uh, what is some kind of problem. Today, ArchForm, I I cannot choose the minimum amount of speed. I only can choose on ArchForm the maximum amount of speed. What does that mean? Let's say I have a case where my biggest problem in the case is 30 degrees of rotation. And since my rotation speed is 2 degrees, it's gonna shows there that I need 15 aligners. But I also have some small problems. Let's say I have 1 millimeter of lingual movement that I need to take this tooth forward. I can put whatever small number I want here. It's not gonna matter because the ArchForm software is gonna take the amount of movement I made and divide by 15. So
Got it.
and I cannot choose the minimum. The minimum ArchForm gonna do that for me because it's going to, I don't know how's the word in English, but it's gonna like divide by the number of aligners. I don't know if that made sense to you guys.
Absolutely. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to play around with this. I've never seen this viewpoint before. It's amazing. It's actually transformative. And you made it so
Nah,
simple.
Sam, stop. No, stop. I'm gonna believe.
Seriously. No,
No,
seriously.
it is really cool because especially if you here in Brazil, it's not a big thing yet, but people people they start doing something on their career and they get frustrated and they change to another. For instance, here a lot of people were like really miserable doing dentistry, and then somebody wrote somewhere that dentists here in Brazil are allowed to do facial
Uh-oh.
harmonization. That's the word, like
Hold on here.
applying Botox and fillers. And oh my God, this country, like the dentists here, became oral aesthetic people. They just do that. And something it's probably gonna happen on, well, not with this strength, but on orthodontics here because a digital planner it's becoming a thing. Like people are, what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm an orthodontist, but what I do is setups for other people. Why I'm saying that? Because it's really hard to plan cases for other people because if you are in a company, because let's say the case does not need 15 aligners, but the ortho bought a package that the least amount of aligners is 15. It's just like whenever we ask a case for Invisalign. If the light is 14, I feel I feel cheated if they send me a case that's planned with 12 aligners. No, where's my other two aligners? I pay for it. So what do you do here? Like if somebody sends me a case and let's say the package is 15 aligners, I choose which one of the movements and I lower it down so it takes more aligners to give to the patient.
Wow.
Some other questions, my friends. And even if you guys remember something else to ask me, I don't know if you guys are a big fan of Instagram, but I use my Instagram a lot. I'm also gonna leave it here so you can scan
Oh
and
yeah,
you
let's do
can
that.
we can be friends there. But oh, sorry, and you can just ask me
Yep.
anything anytime. I'm just not gonna help you with money and blurring a body. Anything else, you can count on me to to help you guys. Ah, okay, yeah, you did ask me about the attachments. I'm sorry. Here, this is the attachment I like to use. Just take this. I don't know if this is another computer. Let me see if the my attachment configuration is here. It is. Okay. So the file that I'm gonna give to you guys uh, is a file that you're gonna click import. For instance, gonna export this one to my What you're gonna do, you're gonna open your ArchForm, you're gonna click on import settings, and this is really cool. You're gonna have this file here where you're just gonna like give 2 clicks, and all the rules that I put for my attachments is gonna be on your ArchForm. So whenever you make the movements, you just come here and click on edit attachments, auto attachments, and they're gonna be uh on your case. And you can just like change any attachment you don't want. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I used to think the attachments was a big deal whenever we would talk about shapes and size and stuff like that. But it's really, I would say, really simple. They have two main goals. One is retention, and the other one is a point for you to apply forces to help the teeth move. So uh, I'm I even though there's like 13 shapes of attachments you can choose here on ArchForm, I only use it three. It's this vertical. For extrusion, I use this one. For rotation, I use this one too, the vertical, but I give a little tip always facing the incisal edge. For instance, whenever you do a rotation with aligners, studies and books, they show that it has a intrusion nature. So you do make the rotation hardly, but you're gonna have a little bit of intrusion counter effect. So what I do, I slightly tilt the attachment so I I would like it to kind of like extrude. It's kind of like a counter force. Let me see what you asked. No, check. Can we make our own file? Yeah, you can. You can. How do you make your own file? You just come here. This is really cool. It's really, really cool. And it's really simple. Let's say, okay, let me explain. Here are the arches. Here is the tooth. Let's say I want to make a rule of attachment for my central upper incisor, right? I just click on new and I choose which kind of movement. What does this mean? It means that if you plan your case, you click on a case on a tooth and you make a movement or whatever, it's gonna have this threshold, like how much of this movement you chose is gonna activate this auto attachment. So let's say intrusion, if it happens this amount or more, pay attention, if it happens this amount or more, I'm going to put 015. I would like the software to put this, and then you can choose the shape of the attachment. I would like to have an oval attachment. Here, later on, this is I kind of like the hardest part is this one, but later on I can make like a tutorial for you guys. You can choose like which place this attachment is gonna be shown. But here, if you leave all zeros, it's gonna show right on the middle of the axis line and right on the middle of the size of the tooth. And here you can change the size, the scale. So let's just leave one. In here, this is really important. What's the priority? So what does it mean? It means that if my tooth has a distal movement, but it also has an extrusion, the ArchForm is going to put an extrusion ArchForm because it has a bigger priority. If it has more than one movement, it's going to check what did I put on the rules and see which one I said, no, this is most important. Doesn't matter if it has other kind of movements. This is the one I want you to put the auto attachment. So for instance, I put here intrusion. And okay, but this was central. Let's make this intrusion the biggest priority. See that it's going up. It's third, now it's second, now it's first intrusion. I'm gonna close this one. And whenever you put there and you close, it's saved. You don't need to worry anymore. And now I'm gonna click on this one and I'm gonna intrude. Oh, sorry, this is the attachment. I'm gonna click on the tooth and I'm gonna intrude. Remember that I put an oval there. I'm gonna click on Auto Alignment. No, sorry, Edit Attachment. And whenever I click on Auto Attachment, you're gonna ask me, "Are you sure?" Something like this. Are you sure? I'm gonna have to. Sometimes I have like a southern accent, is because I used to live in Arkansas, and I just sometimes it just happens to me. I'm gonna click on Alt Attachment, and it's gonna say, "Are you sure?" I'm going to override the existing attachments. Oh, see, just what I said. And now it automatically put it an oval shaped attachment here. So when I'm doing expansion, now answering your question, I usually put those vertical attachment. It's really hard for me to use any other attachment on posterior or other than this one. If I'm not extruding. If I am extruding, then I put an attachment just like this one. So if I'm not extruding, my posterior will have those attachments. Okay. We are walking towards a path where we don't want to use attachments. We believe that the new material is gonna be awesome and we're gonna use less and less attachments, but we're not there yet. I'm sorry to tell you guys, we still need attachments. I the basic truth about attachments is that the bigger, pay attention because this is gonna sound wrong, but the bigger the better. But you cannot put big attachments because it's going to have very strong retention forces and the patient's not going to be able to take off. And if he's not able to take off, he starts to feel bad about the treatment and doesn't go well. So when I say the bigger the better is because the bigger the active surface where the plastic is gonna push is better, but it looks uglier and it makes more retentive and the patient does not like it. For I'll make like a webinar just for this, but for horizontal, this is really cool. For horizontal movements, vertical attachments. For vertical movements, horizontal attachments. For instance, if I want to make a sagittal, so I want to distalize this tooth, I use a vertical attachment for a horizontal movement. If I want to extrude, that is a vertical movement, I use a horizontal attachment. That's one like this one. What else about attachments? I would have like to have another another hour with you guys. More questions? Okay, there's another one. Great question, for sure. Last 3 minutes, guys. Okay, so if you guys don't have any question, I would like to ask to say thank you again for your time. It was really cool. I must say I was not expecting nobody to show up because I was like, dude, that's Saturday. They probably have, and I know you guys do have better things to do, but I appreciate you guys came out to see here, came to here and participate. and was really, really, really cool. And this is just the beginning. Don't forget what I said 1,000 times here. We need to grow together and strong as a community. And I think we have everything we need here. That's us. we have we have ourselves to push each other to share cases and especially share problems. See, this this is a support group because if you guys make a mistake, I don't have to make this mistake. If I make a mistake, you guys don't have to pass through the same the same things that I did. Okay, so later on, I think probably Monday, I'm going to make a poll there on the group and to see if you guys I actually probably gonna post it today and we vote what can be our next team so we can like share and just brainstorm around this. Okay, thank you guys. I wish you guys an amazing weekend and I'll be in touch. Okay, awesome.
Thanks.
I hope to meet you guys.
Take care.
And goodbye.